Yesterday's prophecies for today's world.
Just remember that this is a time when we all have to be bold and share the simple gospel of Jesus Christ with people.
And now, Hal Lindsey presents the Bible Prophecy Series, The Coming of the Last World Superpower.
I'm going to start off with Daniel 7, beginning with verse 19. Now, I did quite a bit of work on this scripture here and all of this that I've got. Beginning with Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. Then I wanted to know the true meaning of the fourth beast, which was different from all the others and most terrifying, with its iron teeth and bronze claws. The beast that crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head and about the other horn that came up before which 3 of them fell, the horn that looked more imposing than the others and that had eyes and a mouth that spoke boastfully. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the saints and defeating them until the Ancient of Days came and pronounced judgment in favor of the saints of the Most High, and the time came when they possessed the kingdom. All right, then we go to verse 23. He gave me this explanation. The fourth beast is the fourth kingdom that will appear on the earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. Then the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come out of this kingdom. There's actually a big parenthesis in time between verse 23 and verse 24, because it talks about the Roman Empire and its first appearance and how it would continue. And then in verse 24, it talks about the 10 horns, and we'll watch that explanation. Now, look carefully. The 10 horns are 10 kingdoms, or kings, who will come out of this kingdom. In other words, out of the remains of the culture and people of this Roman Empire. So this is the Roman Empire phase 2, that all prophecy connected with this, and we'll see this in Revelation 17 in a minute, says these 10 nations out of the old Roman Empire will rise in the days just before the coming of Christ. Now, it says the 10 horns are 10 kings who will come out of this kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the early ones. He will subdue 3 kings. Now, I want you to get that firmly in mind, that there are, in the days shortly before the return of Christ, 10 nations that come out of the old Roman Empire, which has been dormant. It's been in mystery form right now. That 10 nations will rise out of that, and they will form a government, and then after that, what happens? Did you read with me? It says, after them, another king will arise. That's after the 10 rise. Okay, so this is an 11th. And he will subdue 3 kings. Now, verse 25. He will speak against the Most High and oppress his saints and try to change the set times and the laws. The saints will be handed over to him for a time, times and a half a time. In Hebrew, that figures out to be 3.5. And that's talking about 3.5 years during the last 7 years before Christ returns. All right, now, let's move to Daniel chapter 8. The 2-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. The shaggy goat is the king of Greece. And the large horn between his eyes is the first king, Alexander the Great. The 4 horns that replace the one that was broken off represent 4 kingdoms that will emerge from his nation, but will not have the same power. Now, the interesting part about this, it sounds like history, but when this was written, it was 200 years before Alexander the Great was born, or any of these others were born. So it predicted it right on. And Seleucus, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, Cassander, they weren't born either. And yet it said that 4 would take over what Alexander had built. Now that happened. All right, now we go on. In Daniel chapter 8, the prophecy skips from that development of the Greek Empire, which is the third superpower God said would come. And then in verse 23, it skips right over to a description of the Antichrist. It says, in the latter part of their reign, when the rebels have become completely wicked, a stern-faced king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. Whose power do you think he gets? You got it. He will cause astounding devastation and will succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy the mighty men and the holy people. He will cause deceit to prosper, and he will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy the many. The many, in Daniel, the many always refers to the Jewish people. Now, in this particular clause, I want to say that in the original Hebrew, here's what it literally says. In that clause where it says, when they feel secure, it literally says this: by means of peace, he will destroy the many. Now, most translators will not translate that literally, is what it says. But in Hebrew, it's very easy to, good grief. A newcomer in Hebrew could read that literally. By means of peace, he will destroy the many. Because it seems that how can you destroy people with peace? It doesn't seem logical, so that's the reason most translators don't translate it literally. But I can tell you how shalom could destroy many. Because with the promise of peace, a clever dictator can get people to do anything, can't he? The promise of peace. So it's with the promise of peace that he'll destroy the many. And you tie this to Daniel chapter 9, where it says that the Antichrist, the prince of the people who destroyed Rome in 70 A.D., a Roman prince, he's called the coming prince. That man, it says, will make a covenant with Israel, guaranteeing their security. So that's what this is tied to. By means of peace, he will destroy the many. I've heard Israelis say, I'd sell my soul to the devil for peace. Literally, I heard 2 or 3 people say that. Now, reading on. And take his stand against the prince of princes, yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power. The vision of the evening and mornings that has been given you is true. But seal up the vision, for it concerns the distant future. All of this is based out of the New International Version in this particular case, with a few corrections of translation by myself. But you see, this was a character definition of what the Antichrist would be like. In other words, it talks about him being boastful because he's going to be a real orator. It talks about the fact that he will be able to persuade people by deception in an extraordinary way. And he's going to be able to deal with the strongest powers, but not with his own power. Revelation chapter 17, the axis from hell. Verse 1. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, Come, I will show you the punishment of the great whore who sits on many waters. With her the kings of the earth committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. So this starts off by telling us about this great whore who has caused all peoples and the kings to commit adultery with her. Now, when prophecy uses the word harlot or whore and fornication and adultery and so forth in a prophetic passage, it's to be taken in a figurative way, because it's often used in that sense, and we'll go on to see that that is clear. Verse 3, then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a desert or wilderness, and there I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, remember the horns from Daniel 7? This ties right in, you see. The book of Revelation fits like a hand in a glove with the book of Daniel, okay? So it says that the woman is, now notice, she is sitting on the beast. She's riding the beast. That's important to note, which means that she starts off by controlling the beast, all right? Now, I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She had a golden cup in her hand, filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. This title was written on her forehead. Now, it's hard to tell whether it's actually tattooed on her forehead, or like so many in the ancient world of royalty, they would wear a beautiful band that came around their head like that and have embroidered in gold certain things. So it's hard to know which is which, but we know for sure that was prominent on her face and her forehead. It says that she had this written on her forehead: Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of whores and of abominations of the earth. Now, mystery, mysterion, means something not revealed before, but now being made known, something revealed. And in the book of Revelation, the prophecies are being given to show that there has been religion has been influencing governments and leaders from the beginning. And so it says that they have all committed adultery with this whore. Now, when it says mystery, the mystery is about what the name means. The mystery is, what is the meaning of this? Why does he call her mystery? Babylon the Great, the mother of whores and abominations of the earth. Now, first of all, Babylon is the place where false religion began. On the plains of Shinar, Genesis chapter 11 clearly brings out that there was the people refused to scatter as God had told them to scatter, and they said, let's band ourselves together, and they banded themselves together in defiance of God and in opposition to God, and they built the first astrological observatory called the Tower of Babel. That's what it was. And that's where the first religion was born, which was astrology. And so the worship of the stars and all of this was concocted there on the plains of Shinar. And that was the first religion, and it was clearly laid out in chapter 11 of Genesis that this was in defiance of God. And the first world dictator set up a one world government and a one world religion. Well, God showed his displeasure of that, didn't he? He confused the languages, which made them spread out and scatter and kept them from banding together. Now, that's where we get one of the divine institutions. That's for whether you're a believer in the Bible or not, it's something God sets up in these divine institutions, which is for the preservation of the human race. You know what it is? It shows that God believes in nationalism, not one-worldism. And that's a divine institution. The minute you go into one-worldism, what's going to happen is that Satan says hot dogs. All I've got to do is get some of those idiots out there under my control. We get everybody put together. I put him, finally I find the one that's just right. I'll put him in charge, and I've got control of the whole world. However, if you keep them spread out in nationalism, see, God's a realist. He's not like these utopian thinking idiots in our universities who are still trying to get man to bring in utopia. And that's not going to happen. And the reason is it'll never work. God knows that we have sin natures. All human beings have sin natures. And if you put a chicken in every pot and give them a few years, and there'll be some that will have thousands of chickens and others will have none. There is no way to have communism and socialism work. It will never work. And if you band everybody together into one world government, then the worst will rise to the top and take over. So God put everything in juxtaposition. And that's why he confused all the language, and that's why he told them in the beginning to scatter. But you see, whenever man rejects God and he starts into false religion, the first thing he does is start bringing everybody together. So Babylon is a symbolic name that has been developed over centuries and centuries, because Babylon, in God's usage of it in prophecy, stands for false religion that is in defiance of God. It's a word that especially talks about the counterfeit seeking to imitate the real in religion. Okay? All right, now, the next word that's used is whores, plural. Babylon is the mother of whores, okay? This is used in a symbolic sense to talk about the false teacher, the false teachers that are part of this false religious system. And this has been going on from the beginning. There have always been counterfeit religions that get control of the minds of the people. And so the whore is talking about a person. He can be a phony priest. He can be a phony minister. He can be somebody that's involved in one of the other demonic religions that's not true, and so forth. But these are the people who spread it. Now, the next word is abominations of the earth. Abominations refers to the doctrine they teach. Whore is the teacher. The abomination is what they teach. And it says that all of them sprang forth from this woman who's called Babylon the Great. Look with me at Isaiah chapter 23, verses 15 to 17. Now in that day Tyre will be forgotten for 70 years, like the days of one king. At the end of 70 years it will happen to Tyre as in the song of the harlot. Take your harp. Walk about the city, O forgotten harlot. Pluck the strings skillfully. Sing many songs that you may be remembered. It will come about at the end of 70 years that the Lord will visit Tyre. Then she will go back to her harlot's wages and will play the harlot with all the kingdoms on the face of the earth. So this is one of the prophecies about Tyre being a carrier of false religion and spreading it. Okay? Now, there's another one, and this is where you need to become an instant Bible scholar. You need to go to the front of your Bible to the table of contents and look up alphabetically Nahum, N-A-H-U-M. Now, when you get up there and Nahum comes along and said, by the way, did you catch my book while you were down there? You can say, yes, I did. I read Nahum. I read your book. Now, many will not be able to say that. Nahum, chapter 3, verse 1. Woe to the bloody city, completely full of lies and pillage. Her prey never departs. The noise of the whip, the noise of the rattling of the wheel, galloping horses and bounding chariots, horsemen charging, swords flashing, spears gleaming, many slain, a mass of corpses. The countless dead bodies they stumble over, the dead bodies, all because of the many harlotries of the harlot, the charming one, the mistress of sorceries, who sells nations by her harlotries and families by her sorceries. See, this is talking about the impact of false religion. It's always been around. And it can charm and mesmerize people into falling for it. All right, now, Babylon is the source of all of this. So Babylon becomes the symbol that has been applied to many different places. The only thing is, the final application of it is by the book of Revelation, when God says to John, I show you a mystery, which is about the last days. A mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of whores and abomination of the earth. So in the last days, who is this whore? Well, let's look. Back again, Revelation chapter 17, verse 6. I saw the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints, and the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus, or the martyrs. And it was at this time that we have the second appearance in the book of Revelation of an angel that interprets for John some of the things that he had just been revealed to him. The second time. The first time was in Revelation chapter 17 when John looked at the 144,000 standing before the throne of God, and he wanted to know who they were, and it was interpreted to him by an angel who they are. 144,000 Jewish Billy Grahams that are going to evangelize the world in 7 years. Now, this is the second one, though, and this is talking about one that's going to interpret the meaning of this woman and her names. So we read here, when I saw her, I was completely amazed and astounded. You know, in the original Greek, it's a very strong statement. It means I was amazed with a great amazement. That's literally what it says. But this kind of a phrase in English needs it to mean something that's utterly astounding. It's amazing. And in an English translation of this word, it said thunderstruck. It was like he was thunderstruck with what he saw when he saw this woman. And so the Apostle John is seeking to understand it, and this angel says, I'll explain it to you. He was just absolutely astonished. And he says, the angel said to me, why are you astonished? Why are you amazed? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman, number one, that's the first thing you explain. Number two, and of the beast she rides, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. All right, now, he begins by explaining the beast in verse 8. The beast which you saw was, is not, yet will come up out of the abyss and go into perdition. Those who dwell upon the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the creation of the world, will be astonished when they see the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come. Okay, so the beast is something that was, and that was the Roman Empire of John's day. Is not, that's the mystery form it's in now, and yet will come. And that's about to happen right in our lifetime. Fact is, it's going to happen real soon. Was, today is not, and yet it's about to come up out of the abyss.
Join us next week for Hal Lindsey, the Bible Prophecy Series, The Coming of the Last World Superpower.
But when you really get a grip on the fact that Jesus so saves you, when you simply admit your sins and receive the gift of pardon, that you are already in heaven as far as he's concerned. As I prepared for this week's program, I was again struck by the speed with which events are moving into the scenario the prophets predicted for the end times. I believe we're there. People on the street are talking about what all of these things mean. Folks that wouldn't darken the door of a church or pick up a Bible are now very curious. This may be our greatest opportunity, maybe even our last opportunity, to share the gospel of Jesus Christ before we're silenced by political correctness. The message that God has given me is more important now than it's ever been, for the church and for the nation. That's why I'm asking you to help me to expand our reach.
You can find more of Hal Lindsey at his website, www.hallindsey.com. There you can access our video and article archives. Visit our online store for Hal Lindsey CDs, books, and other specialty items. Hal Lindsey's comprehensive teaching on the Gospel of John is now available as an audio book. This incredible teaching will enrich your personal study of the book of John and enhance your understanding of the nature and character of Jesus Christ. To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Hal Lindsey Media Ministries, P.O. Box 470470, Tulsa, Oklahoma 74147. You can also support this ministry online. Visit hallindsey.com or call 1-888-RAPTURE.